The thing on Palmer is this is your window, period. You basically require a full bore program, right, to start you off in beans and corn, and then in corn typically it's something you want to have a post treatment with some residual, so like a callisto-atrazine, right, or something like that. In beans it's full bore residual up front, and then a couple different approaches, but it has to be controlled when it's about that tall. So one strategy is to come in with Liberty or Flexstar or dicamba or whatever at that point and mix dual or Zidua or Warrant with it, which are the three herbicides that'll give you some residual, right? And your goal is to try to do that at that time, and hopefully you don't have to make a second post application, or if you do, there's not as many plants out there. But residuals are a first line of defense against these weeds, because what they're doing is they'll essentially keep it out at least for 4 to 6 weeks. And so when you come back and see plants this time of year like this, they don't have mature seed. What you're trying to do with Palmer is de-emphasize your use of your continuous use of the same post herbicides. There's pluses and minuses to corn and beans. The plus in corn is your herbicides, you're rotating away from the herbicides you're using in beans, and the herbicides I think are a little bit more effective. Corn hides late ones, right? That's a disadvantage. So in beans, the advantage of beans, and that's your chance to see what's going to pop up above the canopy late, and hopefully your herbicide program is good enough and you're going to pull those out. But that'll give you a chance to see kind of what's coming up. It's worth to keep both water hemp and Palmer Amaranth out this time of year, sort of from late July on, when you're done doing weed control, some extra trips around your soybean fields where you can see it popping up above fields with binoculars or whatever it takes, right? Our recommendation is take extra time in late summer. If you see it when you're harvesting, stop, don't blow it through the combine and contaminate your combine. So kind of coming back to the herbicide resistance issue, the problem is all the Palmer that we've tested from sites like this has been resistant to glyphosate. It's all resistant to first rate and pursuit type materials, ALS inhibitors. Well, we have not picked up yet, and it is pretty prevalent in the South now, is resistant to Flexstar and Cobra. We know they still work in all of our populations. There was a project that we were part of in the South and the Midwest looking at the effect of cereal rye on water hemp and Palmer Amaranth, right? And what we found out is it gave us about 40% control of the water hemp or the Palmer Amaranth early season on its own. It didn't substitute for a herbicide program, but your goal there is to try to take the pressure off your herbicides. If you're adjacent to someone that has either one of these weeds, I'm not sure that you need to adjust your herbicide program as long as it's pretty comprehensive, but you certainly want to spend some extra time along those field edges and keep it out. You sort of get one chance if you've kept it on the surface top couple inches. You get one chance with a moldboard plow to flip it all deep, right, and then not flip it back. So you're going to put it deep enough it can't come up. It won't come up from down at 6 inches or something like that, and then you're just going to work it shallow after that point. I think weed scientist's conclusion is there's probably not a lot of difference in tillage unless you're going to moldboard plow. The other school of thought, anytime you have a big year of infestation and a lot of seed, is keep it continuous no-till and don't bury it, because seed doesn't last as long on the soil surface, and it's more likely to germinate pretty fast within the next couple years, as opposed to you bury some, you preserve it, then you turn it back up.
If you're pulling weeds like that, are they going to have to come clear out of the field?
It reroots. So the recommendation actually is chop it off just below soil line and pull it out of the field and burn it or compost it. These weeds just make us extremely nervous, because what we're seeing them do is burn through any herbicide that you use on them. So we have to get everyone thinking about not only using the appropriate program, but then we have to say, okay, so if you're going to do corn, you're going to do Liberty Link beans, you're going to do corn. That next year of beans, even though the Liberty Link program worked really well, what am I going to say? Like, switch to something else. It's a tough sell, but we know if we don't do that, it'll just keep going through herbicide sites of action. So thinking about sort of a 4-year rotation where corn's kind of a gimme year, I call it, because you're using herbicides other than you're using in beans, and then rotating your 2 years of beans.
Basically, Scout, and ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Basically, the biggest thing I see across the largest majority is guys are not getting on their fields early enough with their weed control. They're waiting too long for the post. They need to be better managers of the whole situation. Regardless of this situation or any situation, we really need better scouts.
based on their resistance potential and their adaptability to the various systems and just how aggressive they are. You know, we can see a scenario where the only thing we got left in fields is water hemp and Palmer Amaranth in a few years. Which is why we emphasize taking whatever steps necessary to keep them out of your operation.
It's hard as hell.
Yeah.